The war had ground on for over a decade, a brutal conflict that swept entire star systems into its merciless grasp. Aliens from across the galaxy, tentacled monstrosities, crystalline entities, organisms of pure energy, found themselves at odds with one another. Humanity, though a newcomer to the galaxy, had staked its claim as the underdog, backed by a trait no one had expected: human medics. Among the most legendary of Earth's medics was Lieutenant Reyes, known as the Iron Surgeon. Small in stature but unmatched in skill, she carried a battered trauma pack on her back like a warrior wore armor. She could stabilize a patient's vitals while under fire, and more impressively, adapt to the strangest alien anatomies faster than any of her alien counterparts. As the Terran and Alien Alliance braced themselves in the system of Arkorath, the largest battlefield yet, Reyes knew that every skill she had would be tested. Reyes ducked beneath a thick root of Carithian bark, dragging a fellow medic, Corporal Dante Faro, through the underbrush. The enemy forces, a deadly coalition of insectoid Ra Kriik, were relentless. Reyes quickly pressed a stim injector to Faro's neck, grimacing as the hiss of the medication met the sounds of blaster fire. "We've got to go, Reyes," he groaned, barely able to sit up. Reyes shook her head. "You'll only slow me down. You think I'll let them capture you?" Her words were barely above a whisper, yet they seemed to resonate louder than the gunfire around them. With a final nod, she turned and shot forward, leaving Faro concealed. The flickering blue lights of alien medical tents were visible in the distance, and Reyes wasn't about to let a single soul on her watch suffer alone. The field hospital was chaos, even by Reyes' standards. The Terran medics had been embedded within alien facilities to provide aid to the Alliance. Aliens with organs she could hardly name lay on the gurneys around her, their vital signs erratic and faltering. "Get me a track kit now," Reyes yelled, her voice cutting through the cacophony. A young Zikrith nurse, an alien with gelatinous limbs, struggled to keep up with her. "Lieutenant Reyes, the organs are not in their usual configuration." Reyes snapped on her gloves, already beginning to assess the patient. "Tell me what they do, and I'll figure out the rest." The nurse rattled off information in a panic, and Reyes' mind processed it in seconds. Her hands moved like clockwork, navigating the alien anatomy with an intuitive understanding that left the Zikrith watching in awe. Her makeshift procedures, alien-inspired grafts, and regenerative stims were unheard of in galactic warfare. Most medics saw alien life as too strange, too different to mend. Reyes saw the alien forms as puzzles waiting to be solved. And for each life she saved, she proved a point: human medics were unlike any other. When the Ra Kriik launched their surprise attack on the medical camp 2 days later, Reyes was at the forefront, her trauma pack slung over one shoulder, and a sidearm in her other hand. Her hands might have been meant for healing, but in this war, she'd learned to wield them in combat too. They fought through waves of enemy troops, the medics falling back into bunkers and deploying their triage centers like bunkered fortresses. Reyes worked with eerie calm, operating on soldiers and aliens alike with explosive blasts rattling the walls around her. "Lieutenant Reyes, they're overrunning us," shouted a wounded Corporal Faro, barely able to keep his rifle steady. "Then we make them work for every inch," Reyes said, her voice ironclad. Amid the chaos, Reyes treated the wounded, her voice a calming balm. She barked orders to alien medics, walked them through emergency procedures in languages she'd barely practiced, and kept a tight perimeter. The Ra Kriik were closing in, but Reyes was a force in herself, her relentless drive a morale booster to every soldier and medic around her. Reports had come in from other battlefronts, each detailing the same grim truth: humanity was outnumbered. But there was hope. Reyes and her team had discovered a rare weakness in Ra Kriik biology. Their chitinous shells, impenetrable to most standard weaponry, had a thermal conductivity sensitivity one Reyes realized when trying to perform emergency surgery on a Ra Kriik prisoner. With a flicker of hope, she reported the breakthrough to her superiors. She then handpicked a team of both human and alien medics to train the frontline soldiers on how to exploit this discovery. They constructed makeshift thermal devices, surgical in precision, that could take down even the largest Ra Kriik. The Ra Kriik countered viciously, launching biochemical attacks that decimated troops. But Reyes' medics adapted once more, even creating a counter serum using alien enzymes. Reyes and her team moved through the battlefield like specters, treating wounds and administering countermeasures in real time. Reyes barely felt the fatigue as she worked. Days blurred into nights, and she could barely keep her eyes open by the time the Alliance launched their final offensive. The frontline soldiers relied on Reyes' medics, the hope of survival somehow tied to her uncanny skill. In the heart of the battle, Reyes found herself facing the Rock Creek War Chief, a towering insectoid with multi-layered armor and mandibles sharp enough to pierce bone. She braced herself, heart hammering, as she assessed the creature. It was wounded but still powerful, and Reyes had one job: either take it down or ensure it couldn't harm any more lives. Ripping a thermal injector from her pack, she aimed for the weak spot she'd studied so many times and plunged the needle into the chitin. The war chief shrieked, its body convulsing as the thermal device spread through its body. "Fall back," Reyes shouted, using the moment of chaos to rally her medics and soldiers. In the ensuing retreat, they dragged the injured and dying, her team never leaving a single comrade behind. With the war chief dead and the Rock Creek forces scattering in disarray, the Alliance claimed victory over Arkorith. Reyes's actions had turned the tide of a seemingly impossible battle. The medics of Earth became legends among the galactic races, their unyielding determination and adaptability inspiring awe. Months later, in the quiet of a debriefing room, Reyes sat across from an admiral who looked at her with a mix of awe and respect. "You know what you did back there, Reyes?" he asked, his voice quiet. "You changed the course of the war." Reyes glanced down at her scarred hands, the tools that had both saved and taken lives. "I didn't do it alone," she replied. But in her heart she knew that humanity's medics, the surgeons of war, had earned their place in galactic history. Their grit, resilience, and refusal to surrender made them the best in the universe, and in the eyes of every alien soldier who owed them their life, they would be heroes forever.